so much, and we appreciate that. We're not being allowed inside the area that's just beyond the staging point, but I can tell you, just having been to the window and speaking with the officials here.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm gonna set this camera up here in the house, and I will leave you guys with the ability to see the TV and some of the load-bearing wall. And this thing is in the direct. This property is actually in a direct line with the storm. So we'll see if it stands up, man. We'll see if it stays. It really depends. I don't know if it's gonna make it. Man, the camera might be messed up from getting wet earlier. Let me see. Alright, so you guys can hear that in the background, so you guys are at least hearing shit, and then shit may break.
They are keeping their spirits good, and they're waiting for whatever Matthew has to bring. Reporting live in Kissimmee,
Alright.
Let's go back to you now.
Alright, Bob, thank you. Of course, there are a lot of shelters that are open right
I'm going to face you guys maybe right here.
And of course, Tony, now you're joining us, and tell me the reason why we have these shelters open is because this situation along the coastline especially could become dire very quickly.
Yeah, you know, if you take a look at this picture we've got outside, there's a reason why we want to go on the roads at night. The winds are starting to pick up. You can see the palms blowing. Once these winds start getting up to 50 and 60 miles an hour, the debris starts flying around to hit moving vehicles, or trees could topple on over. We had a lot of rain here now in September, getting into October, so we're going to have to watch that component of this storm system. That's why flood watches are up. That's why river flood warnings are up now up towards Astor, along the St. John's, because of the...
I'll point you guys over there towards this mirror, too, so you can see what's going on behind.
See, as the storm goes by, we can get a Cat 4 or a very strong Category 3 hurricane. So they're thinking what we've been saying is not changing. Again, we're talking about life-threatening storm system coming across the eastern side of the peninsula. Catastrophic winds. We're going to have to watch this one very carefully. The landscape that we know along the coast could be radically changed by the time we wake up very early Saturday morning as we get this thing going by sometime late Friday night. So Category 4 winds, 2:30 in the morning on Friday. Hurricane force winds already in the central.
All right, here we go.
Brevard County, we forge ahead just a couple of hours, 7 a.m. on Friday. All of Brevard County and under those hurricane force winds. They extend out now into Orange, Seminole, and southern Volusia County. We go ahead a couple more hours. Hurricane force winds, all of Flagler County, all of Volusia, eastern sections there of Seminole, northern Brevard County, and not to ignore the tropical storm force winds, but these as well, extending through all of our viewing area. Power outages likely along the eastern side, very high chances of that. Power outages over here, there, but definitely lower as the strongest winds will be going by to your east. As we work our way into Friday at 7 o'clock, the core of the storm is up here. Tropical storm force winds in Flagler, over towards Marineland, over towards Palm Coast. The storm system pulls away. The cleanup begins as we get you on into the weekend. Let me show you the satellite presentation. Notice the eye right there. It wobbled a little bit. Well, I'll tell you what, Freeport there, and the Bahamas took a direct hit. Then we overlay the wind field on top of that satellite. In the red, these are the hurricane force winds. They extend outward from the center, 60 miles. The tropical storm force winds extend outward from the center, 185 miles. So if this storm is going by along the coast or 10 miles offshore, remember, you've got all of that real estate. You take 10 away from 185, that means all of the central Florida peninsula will feel those tropical storm force winds. There is the eye. Notice the little wobble with land right there. Now about 154 miles to the south-southeast.
All right, guys, that looks like it's going to be it. Oh, is it a flashlight over here? That's what's up. Hold on.
12 hours or so from now, we would have potential landfall, or again, just scraping by to the east. You take a look at the wave height action. Once this storm pulls away from the islands, which have been acting as sort of a barrier, these waters are going to pile on up. These are going to jump to about 30, 35 feet, and then as the wind on the north side is pulling all that ocean towards the coast, we've talked about the storm
that looks like it's going to be it. We out. Live stream is up. I'll catch y'all later. Let's see if it stands. Y'all can hear the news. I'm out. Deuce.
is going to get slammed when Hurricane Matthew makes landfall. We want to check in with West 2's Claire Metz, who is now at the Halifax Harbor. And Claire, it looks like the wind and the rain have started to pick up in that area.
Yeah, and actually we're probably a little deceiving in terms of how it looks here because we've got the protection of a building on the other side of us. But yeah, the wind gusts have been picking up. There's rain, obviously. This is the Halifax Harbor Marina, a beautiful place, and big boats here that are docked. The owners obviously hoping that they will be able to weather this rather intense, severe, perhaps catastrophic storm. There are some who went ahead and moved their boats to floating docks. They thought they might be safer, but others are going to stay right here. And one of them is David Mitchell, and he agreed to talk to us. He's been working on his boat, just trying to make sure everything's in order. Dave, you've got a boat. It's right around the corner there. I know it's, what, about 41 feet?
Yeah, 45 foot actually.
And you're going to stay on that boat? Why would you do it?
Protect it mainly.
I mean, you think the boat will weather the storm?
Oh, absolutely. It's been worse situations.
But you've only been here 2.5 years, so...
I've been here in the Marina over 10.
Okay.
But I've been living there for 2 years now.
But in 10 years, we haven't had something like this, Dave.
Nah, I'm still looking forward to it.
And it looks looks to me like, and Hutch, I'm not sure if you can see it there, Dave's boat is sort of tied up to a palm tree. Now,
2 palm trees, actually, and then I got 12 lines on it altogether.
okay, she's a beautiful boat, I'll give you that, and I'm praying for you that she maintains. But, Dave, palm trees, these could be uprooted in a heartbeat.
I've been here long enough, I ain't worried about it.
You really feel secure?
Actually, oak trees will fall over. It takes a whole lot to blow a palm tree over.
All right, well,
And times close to the bottom of the ground, all it gets is good leverage. You tie it up high, correct, it probably would pull it right over.
you've got some friends, though, who were docked here that went ahead and moved.
Correct, that's right. There was 3 boats behind me, but they've all moved over to the floating docks.
Yeah, because they feel like the wooden docks could, do damage to the boats.
Correct. Or another tidal surge, because the boat keeps on going up. But it's trending, the water should be about a foot above that dock by the time they reach the high tide or trusses.
And it could be even higher, Dave.
Could be even higher. Yep. Everything's going to be underwater here real soon, it looks that way.
Well, we're praying for you, honestly. I think I would advise you to evacuate, but I'm going to hope for the best.
I appreciate your concerns.
All right, Dave.
No, I feel confident.
Okay, well, you be safe. I'm glad someone is.
Yeah, you too.
All right, Dave. And, of course, bye, sweetie, and you have a good night, too. And by the way, this is the Intercoastal Waterway, which is where all these boats are parked. And beyond it, the river is already a little on the high side right now. So if we get what is anticipated from Hurricane Matthew, I think this could be a disastrous decision for David and for anybody else who chooses to stay on a boat. Meantime, I just want to show you, we're like around Orange Avenue and the river. Orange Avenue, looking that way would be downtown Daytona Beach, and looking straight across from me is Jackie Robinson Ballpark, the iconic ballpark, which of course is empty. It's really rather, it's almost a little haunting here tonight because it's so quiet in the area. Folks heeding the warning to either stay put and hunker down, as they say. Oh, we hate that expression, don't we? Either stay where they can, but or at least get somewhere safe in the short term. But again, that is Jackie Robinson Stadium, where they were supposed to have a giant blues fest this weekend, and of course that had to be canceled. But folks are off the street. That's good news. I checked in with Police Chief Mike Chitwood. He told me so far so good, no problems. And the winds are picking up, particularly on the beach side, right over here, which is just the other side of the bridge. Not too bad yet, but this is the calm before the storm. Things are bound to get worse, no doubt about it. We did see on the sides, on either side of the high bridges, police were, they're really watching for people who are trying to go east on those bridges, toward the beach side. It's a mandatory evacuation. Unless you can prove you've got business there, you're not going over there. They want to protect people who did have to evacuate, and they want to make sure that no one puts themselves in harm's way if they don't have to. So although the bridges remain open at this point, we haven't gotten those 45-mile-an-hour sustained so that they would close them. Although they remain open, truly they're limiting traffic, particularly going east. If you want to get out, you still can, but I would imagine that window is closing as well. Meanwhile, the shelters are full up on the east side of Volusia County. Still some room on the west side of the county, which is good news. And trust me, law enforcement, first responders here will ensure that everyone who wants to get out goes during this window of opportunity. Once that closes, though, the first responders will not risk life and limb to help someone who did not help themselves in the first place. So you still have a little bit of time. We encourage you to go. I really think that things are going to go downhill dramatically from here, and that this lovely area that we've called home for so long may not look the same. But if we get through this without loss of life, that's what's critical. It's redundant to say it. You can replace things. You can't replace people. But I feel that in my heart that I'm really hoping to get the message across that all of my friends and colleagues and community people around here that I love so much do stay safe and get out of this and come out of this on the bright side when Saturday finally rolls around. Back to you guys in the studio.
Claire, first off, fantastic job holding your composure as you were talking to Dave, who now has his boat tied to 2 palm trees and thinks that's going to help him. We just talked to Aaron first, who was going crazy during your interview because he said you're going to have 10-plus beat waves, or 10-plus beat seas in that area, and then the waves combined will be pushing that boat. He's the exact person that emergency officials are talking about when they say people are staying there and they're going to be stuck.
And there's Dave's boat right there, Stu. I know. But you're not going to talk Dave into leaving. This is a guy who thinks he's, seen it all. He said in 10 years he's seen worse. I don't think so. None of us have seen what I think we're going to get. Short of living through Andrew or living through Katrina, none of us have seen what we're going to get. So I do feel terrible that he's staying, but I don't think anything from you, me, or even local authorities are going to change his mind. there's actually several people who are staying on boats here in the marina. And I think you're right. Those palm trees may go flying, and the storm surge. What were we talking about? We're talking 11, 12, 13 feet, wiping over the intercoastal, wiping all the way up to US 1 and beyond. So I do think it's going to be a very difficult couple of hours for Dave, and he may wish he changed his mind.
Listen, Claire, you are Volusia County. If you tell people to leave, they need to get out. You know, you've been there.
There's a certain line of foolishness that some people just have to make sure that they don't
Yeah,
cross.
we'll just
This
have
is scary.
prayers and thoughts with them. Claire, thank you so much for that latest update. And now, of course, we want to head to Flagler County.
That's right. Dave McDaniel has been there. And Dave, you just got a message from Flagler County officials saying now is the time to get out now and take shelter now before this storm gets worse.
Well, that's absolutely the case. Now, this is what A1A looks like on a Thursday night when there's a curfew in place. There is hardly a car to be seen. In fact, the cars we do see have flashing emergency lights on them. Law enforcement has been going up and down A1A, telling people that they cannot linger in the beachside in the evacuation zone because of this 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew. Now, of course, they want people to evacuate. They're not going to stop anybody who's on the roads who is trying to leave the beachside, leave the low-lying areas, leave the manufacturing home communities, leave the areas that are vulnerable to wind damage or flooding, storm surge. 15 to 20-foot waves are anticipated in the Atlantic Ocean as the storm reaches its peak. An 8-foot storm surge from the intracoastal is expected. Those are really dire predictions. That's exactly why they want people to evacuate, exactly why they had the curfew here, because they don't want people coming down here just to look around and check things out and accidentally get stuck out here. Now, earlier we did talk to a couple of people, one who says he's going to stay, one who says she's going, and we talked to the sheriff about the folly of staying.
I'm a little worried about the roof and the windows, but it's my home. I'm going to go ahead and leave it up to the Lord.
Listen, if they tell you to evacuate, take it extremely seriously, because this is a very, very dangerous storm. It's Category 4, and I saw what Andrew did down in Homestead back in the 90s, and this is to be taken extremely seriously.
Well, this is it. After 45 miles an hour sustained winds, all first responders will be bunkering up. We cannot come out. It will be too dangerous for us to respond. So people will be on their own during those periods of time. That's why they need to evacuate, because help will not come until the gusts come back down, and that probably won't be until Saturday morning.
And maybe even Saturday midday. As you're looking here, you see that one of the dwellings here right across A1A, all shuttered in. Those folks have evacuated. They've got all of their shutters over their windows to protect themselves from flying debris and all of that. And again, the point has been made by law enforcement, by the folks with fire rescue, with emergency management, the people who are in charge of flood control and public works, water, wind, damage. Power is going to be out, especially up and down on the coastline. There's probably no way that power cannot go out with the kind of storm that they're anticipating here. And it may be out for a long time. In Flagler County, they have 3 shelters open. They have Rimfire Elementary for special needs. They have Bunnell Elementary, and that's for people who want to bring their pets. What they don't want people to do is refuse to shelter because they want to stay home with their dog or their cat or some other pet. They're allowing pets to come to you if you go to Bunnell Elementary. And then you have the Taylor Middle School, and the Barry Taylor Middle School, that is in Palm Coast. That's the shelter where almost everybody go. 250 people were checked in there earlier, but they say they still have room. People can shelter. They want them to come in. And when I ask one thing that's a little unclear, they're sheltering in schools. School is obviously out. At what point are they going to have to close the shelters when school begins? Because they just don't know the all-out damage that we're going to feel from Mathew. That's really an unanswered question. But for now, the schools are open. They have generators. They have lights. They will not lose power during the storm. They'll have bathroom facilities. You'll have air conditioning. And they're offering food there. So really, they're saying if you don't mind being a little cramped in with all of your neighbors, the shelter's the way to go. And they say people can continue to check in there. There's a curfew, 7 to 7, like I said. Also, the bridges coming over to the beachside completely closed at midnight. They were allowing people with the proper ID to come in after 4, but only them. And then at midnight, the bridge is closed. People can always go out.
reporting live in Flagler Beach, Dave McDaniel, West 2 News.
Before we let you go, you covered Hurricane Hermine just a couple of weeks ago up in the Big Bend area, and you experienced those winds head on as that storm came on shore. So far, what have you experienced, and how bad are you expecting it to get?
Well, we don't have the weather yet in this storm that we had at Hermine, but we were a lot closer, and it was going up the west coast, and we were in Cedar Key, a very low-lying area, and it was very susceptible to storm surge and wind. But the wind here is going to be far worse when Matthew comes by. Keep in mind that Matthew is still some distance south of us, but I can tell our meteorologists that we're getting wind from the north and from the east. So clearly the size of this storm is already wrapping around and hitting us in the back as we look south on A1A. That gives you an idea of how big the storm is, how it's wrapping around itself and blowing us back this direction. The storm is coming. It will be far worse. They're talking over 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts, a big problem, serious damage, and serious threat.
Well, Dave, we are praying for your safety, and you can take cover whenever you need to. Let's take a live picture right now because we have an image of one of those bands that's starting to move through the Orlando area at the 417. This is near the Econ Trail and Lake Underhill Road. And the one positive image that we're seeing from this picture is that there are no cars out on the roadway on the 417, but heavy soaking going on right now throughout much of Central Florida.
Yeah, and those that live in Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard County, you're being asked to go to a shelter if you can. West 2 Summer Knowles is in the Breaking News Center with an update on the shelters in Volusia County. Summer?
Well, Angela, first, I want to tell you, we've just learned that Volusia County now has a curfew in place that will take effect at midnight tonight and then run until Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So if you are thinking about going to a shelter, now is certainly the time. But all Eastside shelters in Volusia County, they're full. They don't have any room for new families. Apparently, they've been at capacity for several hours now. Most of the Westside shelters are also full. But the shelters on your screen here, these are the locations that are still accepting evacuees right now. They are University High School, Pine Ridge High School, River Springs High, and Deltona High School. Also, DeLand Middle School still has some room, and that is a pet-friendly shelter. Now, as far as people with special needs, there are 2 shelters still open at Heritage Middle School and Galaxy Middle School. Both are in Deltona. Again, all Eastside shelters are full. You'll have to head on over to Westside locations, and if you are going to do that, you need to do it now. It's 8:42, and we're told that curfew is going to go in effect at midnight, and it will last until 7 o'clock Saturday morning. We have all this information on our website, west.com. Reporting live from the Breaking News Center, Summer Knowles, West 2.
All right, Summer, thanks. And, of course, we're going to monitor the situation throughout the entire Central Florida. We're starting to see some heavy showers come down.
Yeah, let's go back to that picture out there. Again, this is why we have a curfew. This is why we want people off the roads. You're getting these blinding downpours now, and we're going to see this actually get worse. I believe that at one point here, once we get into the core of this storm system, well after midnight tonight, along the coast, it's going to be very difficult to even see the road. It's going to be almost like a whiteout. We're talking about lake effect snows up in the Northeast, but you've been here in Florida. If you've lived here all your life, how many times have you driven down a road and you had to pull over because you couldn't see 5 feet in front of you? So that's going to get worse before it gets better. And on top of that, Dave McDaniel, who was talking about the winds being fairly light for now, well, he's so far in advance of the storm. That is going to change as well. He's going to be reporting to us all night, and you're going to see a drastic change, certainly after midnight tonight at his location. All right, let's take a look now at the latest track now from the Hurricane Center. And again, here's what you need to know. The line, the center point hasn't changed. We'll tell you not to focus on it, but we have been focusing on this just to see if there's any deviation in the overall track and trends. Usually, this close to landfall, this close to going by, you're pretty well locked in, and that's kind of where we are right now for the most part. We're watching that center of the eye there, but for the most part, this looks pretty darn good. Hurricane force winds Cat 3 to Cat 4 throughout the night tonight, throughout the day tomorrow, and that's going to be the core of the winds there. The worst for Matthew, for Brevard County, is going to be from about midnight to 4 o'clock. I might even extend this out by an hour or two, just based on some of the RPM models we're looking at. And then you work your way farther north and west here, 3 a.m. to about 8 or 9 a.m. I would probably change that by a little bit, and then farther north and west, as you can see, just a little bit later. Look at the eye now, coming off of Freeport and moving to the north and the west. Very distinctive eye. In fact, if anything, it's getting more and more pronounced the farther north and west it moves. We overlay now in the yellow with tropical storm force winds. Why do we do that? Because you need to understand how large the wind fields are. So here in the yellow, we have tropical storm force winds that are extending out 185 miles from the center. And then you take a look at the dark red. These are the hurricane force winds. These are now extending out 60 miles from the center of Matthew. And as that storm gets closer and closer, those hurricane force winds are going to come ashore first in Brevard County, and then it's going to work its way north and west. The center now of Matthew, exactly 154 miles to the south-southeast of the Cape Canaveral area, and it's moving in that general vicinity off towards the northwest. Here's the vector. First start, you see the eye right there. Follow that line. It's right along that line. If it doesn't change, there's going to be a glancing blow or some sort of landfall right about in there, and then heading into Volusia County as it heads further north and west. Let's take a look now at the Doppler radar. Melbourne, on the outer edges of its volume scan there, you can see the center, that circulation, that eye is going to get more and more pronounced the closer it gets to the radar. We're also watching the very heavy rain bands now coming ashore. There's a reason why we have flood watches up right now, because of the anticipation of 5 to 10 inches of rain along the coast. Big swath now of tropical rainfall coming ashore over Oak Hill, New Smyrna Beach. Get ready. It's going to be coming down in torrents here in the next half hour to 45 minutes. Flagler Beach over towards Bunnell, Marineland. Light rain for now, but this is going to steadily increase as we go throughout the evening. Sanford, big shield of rain for you. That's headed southwest over towards Oviedo, Waterford Lakes, downtown Orlando, over towards Windermere a little bit later on, and this big slug of rain now headed towards Sumterville and Webster. Will continue to monitor that. Not seeing any spin or any rotation, thankfully for now, but we are watching these big cores of tropical downpours now that are coming in to Seminole and soon to be Orange counties. There's the turnpike. Kissimmee, not too bad right now, but a little bit later on, as that northwest band begins to work on it, we're going to have to watch that very carefully. We take a look now at the track here of the system Matthew. Once this storm pulls away from the islands, which has basically been acting as a barrier, once this pulls away, you're going to see this water pile on up 35, 40 feet. And Eric, this is all headed towards our coast.
Yeah, and we're already getting, of course, those fringe benefits or effects. And I just want to note, the FAA has made it official at 8:30 tonight. Orlando International Airport is closed for business, and it's not a difficult reason as to see why. This is the 417 over along Narcoossee, and not far from the airport there, you can see in the street light on the right side of your screen the driving rain. We've got another sky cam or DOT camera to show you in the same vicinity, and you can see those pouring rains. It is not a very nice night. You do not need to be out on the roadways unless you absolutely must travel through. Okay, so let's talk about a hurricane. Say you're staying along the coast and you're curious as to the progression of things, all right? First and foremost, all day today we've had these driving waves beating up on the shoreline, starting up with erosion. You start to pick up the winds and the rain, kind of like what we're seeing right now. As that happens, those waves get higher and higher. The surge keeps building. You start to blow away some of the weaker tree limbs, and at the same point in time, as those winds continue to build, you start to damage roof tiles. It doesn't matter if your home is built to withstand 120-mile-per-hour winds or not, concrete block or not, ceiling tiles, roof tiles, Spanish tiles, they're going to start to become projectiles in that driving wind. Then we continue to watch that storm surge, perhaps inundating homes. This is our grave concern. You start to suffer catastrophic damage to weaker structures first, then the stronger structures second. We even see trees becoming projectiles, and before you know it, unfortunately, in a major hurricane situation like this, what is left is exactly the terminology the governor and many officials have been utilizing. Catastrophic damage. Something we don't want to talk about, but something, unfortunately, that we have to prepare ourselves for. Now, when we talk about storm surge, this is a brand new piece of data that we've got this year, and this is the first time, frankly, we've been able to use it. It's that new, and this storm system is the perfect trial run. This is potential storm surge across central Florida, and what this does is it models the winds expected, the direction the winds will be coming in, and the topography of the land, the height above sea level for barrier islands and mainland communities. And when we look at these orange shades here from Patrick Air Force Base beachside down to Barefoot Bay, Floridana Beach, the Sebastian Inlet, we're seeing those orange shades, which is 9-foot storm surge. That means that, again, going back to that other graphic, the water rises 9 feet. Above that 9-foot mark, you we've got those driving waves going up even taller, and that's why we are so gravely concerned for folks that are staying along our coastline. Here into northern Brevard County, especially along the Canaveral National Seashore, we're starting to see some of those darker shades, a little closer to 10, 11, 12 feet of inundation to waterways, especially along the causeway here, the North Courtney Parkway, I should say. That road very likely will be underwater, could even be seeing some structural damage to the roadways. Further to the north, here's Oak Hill, there's A1A Edgewater, and if you live in these communities, notice that beachside we're running about 9-foot storm surge. Even here across the inland waters, the intracoastal waterways, it's a 7-foot storm surge that's pushing in closer to communities along Interstate 95. How's about New Smyrna Beach? We're looking more along the lines of 10-foot storm surge possible. Ponce Inlet, a little closer, 11, even 12-foot storm surge beachside, and it could even, in some areas, spill over to the Halifax. Here's Port Orange, South Daytona. You notice about the same thing. There's that 9, 10-foot storm surge, and I've been talking all night about this little feature. Interesting enough, you see this spilling all the way across Interstate 95, almost to 415 out near the fly-in community. This is Spruce Creek. Okay, so as the water coming from the east gets pushed in, it's going to inundate communities, but it's also going to run downstream and run down the creek. And even if you live as far inland as Interstate 95, but along Spruce Creek, we could be talking about these waterways overtaking their banks. Flood advisories are certainly posted for this very reason. Daytona Beach, beachside, we're running along the lines of 9, 10-foot storm surge. Holly Hill up to Ormond Beach, that comes down just a little bit along the Halifax. But there's Beverly Beach, and you look at that, 9, 10 feet. This is, as the governor, the National Hurricane Center director, and our local National Weather Service meteorologists have put it, potentially life-threatening, with marine land down through Palm Coast registering near 12 feet above sea level. Guys, we'll continue to watch this. Not good for our friends staying and riding the storm out along the coast.
All right, Eric, thank you. And now we want to go to Cocoa, where West 2's Dan Billow is now. And Dan, you've switched locations. The wind's obviously starting to pick up there.
We're at the Cocoa Beach Pier, Angela, and it's been moderate. It's been a little stronger at times, a little weaker at times. So things doing okay in Cocoa Beach at the moment. It's just hard to imagine the lower level buildings here could all be underneath breaking waves at some point. Now, as we head toward the ocean, you might be able to dimly see the pier itself, the famous Cocoa Beach Pier in the background. Unimaginable destruction possible there into tomorrow as the center of the storm comes by. And as we look at the ocean here, it's creeping up. These northeast winds already pushing the water up farther to the beach, just little by little. So with a storm surge of 8, 9, 10 feet, it'll be over my head up here. A sheriff's deputy has told me people are calling and asking deputies, asking dispatchers, go get my relative who refuses to evacuate from the barrier island. Well, they can't do that. They can't force you to evacuate. They can only recommend. And a lot of people are not doing it. We talked to one guy a little while ago and asked him why. What about evacuation? Are you staying or going?
I'm staying.
Why?
Why leave? End up in traffic.
Well,
it's too late to leave now. If you're going to leave, you need to do that like yesterday, the day before. Or you end up sleeping in your car.
Are you worried about the structure of your house being blown away?
No. These houses have been built in the 50s. They've been through several storms.
So we've heard quite a bit of things like that from people who are not evacuating. Other people are talking about that they've got to stay with their pets. They won't abandon their pets to the storm. Well, there are pet-friendly shelters to go to. There is still an opportunity to get across the causeway and at least get out of where the storm surge will be the worst. Much of Brevard County, though, could potentially have those 100-plus mile-an-hour winds, which themselves will alter the landscape. And of the whole county, this isn't a hurricane that hits in one place like it seems many of them do. Like Hurricane Andrew, you could think of the destruction was kind of a narrow path, more of a pinpoint. This is a whole state, all of Brevard, all of Volusia, all of Flagler, if the forecast stays the same. We've never seen anything like it. And all we can do is hope that the folks who stayed on the barrier island somehow come out of this okay. We're live in Cocoa Beach. Dan Dillow, West 2 News.
Yeah, it's a part of history we really don't want to be a part of. And Dan was mentioning that it's going to change the landscape. We're going to see beach erosion, the storm surge possibly 11 feet, hurricane force winds. I mean, we're talking a massive storm. Yeah. Governor Rick Scott calling it a monster of a storm, and that it will be catastrophic.
And I remember just a few years ago they had a big issue with beach erosion in Brevard County, so this is obviously not going to help the cause to maintain what has been a big repair job that's already taken place. Let's go south from where Dan Dillow was reporting near the Cocoa Beach Pier and go to Ocala, where Adrian Whitsett is in the Melbourne area. And Adrian, what are the conditions like for you now, and have they gotten any worse, or are you still expecting some of those major showers and winds to start blowing through?
Oh, Stuart, for sure. The major showers, the major winds, the rain driving sideways, that is coming. I think that's abundantly clear as what we've been talking about since early this afternoon, if not for the last couple of days. What's happening at this very moment is that the wind gusts are starting to pick up slightly. They are not quite at that.
And it seems like we're having some issues with that live shot from Adrian Whitsett.
But go ahead and look at that picture there. I mean, you can see, even though Adrian, we're unable to hear him, we can still see what's happening out there. Those winds are really whipping out there. The trees are blowing. Although I'm not seeing any rain in that area, of course, that will be moving in very quickly.
Yeah, we've seen those bands that have been moving through much of Central Florida throughout the day. Let's take a live shot at one of our DOT cameras where we've also seen some heavy rainfall. And most importantly, we have not seen a lot of people out on the roadways. You see just one car here at the 528. Remember, they did suspend the tolls so that people who were evacuating in Central Florida and South Florida areas would not have to worry about slowing down. They could get right through this area. Earlier today, as people were leaving from the beach line area, this area was packed with cars. Is now eased off as we have gotten to nightfall, as people are starting to get off.
Nobody. I mean, what is there, one car right there or two cars down the road? However, if you look at the lamp there, you can see the rain is really starting to come down. We know that the state ordered 1.5 million people to evacuate, but from the last update from Governor Rick Scott, only about 3,000 people are actually in the shelters. At midnight, we're expected to get another update to see how many people are in shelters. We know that number is going to go up because we know that some of those shelters are at capacity right
I
now.
want to run down some of the curfews that we are seeing throughout the area. And Orange County announced its curfew not long ago. They are joining with Seminole and Flagler counties, who also have curfews as well. And the Orange County curfew begins tonight at 10 p.m. It will end Saturday morning at 7 a.m. because the worst of the storm is expected tomorrow. So only essential people that need to go somewhere, they're talking about doctors that have to get somewhere, people have true emergencies will get there. The sheriff even announced that people that are just out wandering to be a sightseer through this storm could possibly be arrested. Over in Seminole County, you're talking about a curfew that will last from Friday morning at 5 a.m. until Saturday morning at 7 a.m. And over in Flagler County, 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. That curfew is already in effect. We saw Dave McDaniel, who was in that location just a short while ago.
Right, and these curfews are put in place to keep you safe, to keep you off of the roads, because it is going to be dangerous out there. Once this storm moves through, we're going to expect to see a lot of damage, maybe down to power lines. Governor Rick Scott saying, stay away, don't walk through water, don't drive through water, because those power lines could be live. It is a danger to you. So listen, if you've got a curfew, even if you don't have a curfew, your best bet is just to stay inside. I mean, that rain is really starting to come down. That wind is starting to pick up. It is starting to get dangerous out there.
Unfortunately, some people are just being hard-headed, staying put. We covered just interviewed a guy that's over in the Halifax area, the marina, who was staying on a boat that's tied to 2 palm trees. And he says that he's going to be able to withstand 11-foot seas that are coming through that area and also strong waves. So it's going to be a dangerous situation. We've already got the death toll updates from Haiti, which is at 264. So this storm is already very deadly, and expected that if you do stay in some of these areas, you could possibly be putting your life at risk.
And West 2's extended coverage of Hurricane Mathew continues next.
a possible storm surge of 11 feet plus.
It's too late for us to evacuate, and I understand that 95 is already backed up all the way up to St. August Station. I'm a little worried about the roof and the windows, but it's my home. I'm going to go ahead and leave it up to the Lord.
They choose to stay, they should call 311 and give us information for their next of kin, because this is a life-threatening emergency.
This is a storm like we have never seen in Central Florida. Thanks for joining us. I'm Angela Taylor.
And I'm Stuart Moore. So glad to have you with us. It's 9 p.m. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tony Manalfi. Tony, 9 p.m. was that target marker. We're starting to see conditions truly deteriorate along the coastline. What's it looking like outside right now?
I got to tell you, we've got a lot more. Let's go outside right now. Let's go and show you that picture again that Angela was just talking over, but we haven't seen anything yet. Let me show you. In the next 5 to 8 hours, you're going to see a dramatic change in the winds. They're going to be coming up quickly here along the coast. The water's going to start advancing towards the coast. We're going to see a rise there. And we are going to have to take a look at these rainfall forecasts here very carefully. We've got new data coming in. We may have to revamp those rainfall totals. We'll go ahead and update that here for you going forward. But here's the bottom line. Scenes like this are going to be commonplace all across Central Florida. The only thing that's going to change in those pictures, instead of coming down slanted, it's going to be coming sideways once that wind begins to pick up. So there's Matthew, an historic hurricane coming by. We've never seen a storm this powerful come this close or potentially on shore, and a long-lived track that does major structural damage up and down the eastern side of our Florida peninsula, all those condos. It's going to be very interesting to see what this looks like when the sun comes up on Saturday morning. Look at that track then potentially wrapping around, much weaker. We're not going to spend too much time on the wraparound right now because we've got to get you through the most important thing, and that's Matthew as a major hurricane. Category 4, as you saw, winds at 130 miles an hour. By Friday at 2 o'clock, they're coming down a little bit, but a very powerful Category 3 hurricane. And because of that 12-hour duration right there, that's going to take its toll on the coast and even in inland areas. Let me show you that eye. Look how quickly it is rapidly developing now on the western side there of Freeport, pulling away from the Bahamian Islands. As you take a look now at the hurricane strength winds extending outward now about 60 miles from the center, and then there in the yellow, tropical storm force winds extending outward now 185 miles. So even if it goes just offshore, we're going to have hurricane force winds along the coast. We're going to have tropical storm force winds clear west of Tampa Bay out into the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, we're running about 150 miles to the south of Cape Canaveral right there. As we take a look at the vector, one of the things that we have been doing is watching this line to see if there's any deviation in that track. Absolutely zero. Once we get into this core of bands, that's when we think the winds are really going to ramp on up. That is literally about 2 hours away now from southern Brevard County. Eric and I have been playing around with some of the velocity products in here, and those winds are definitively much higher than what we're seeing right here. We're getting tropical storm bursts with these squalls coming ashore. Melbourne, very heavy rain. Oak Hill, some intense rain just blew through your area. We head farther to the north, light to moderate rain here. That's going to increase over the next couple of hours. Heading off towards the west, Ocala, Bellevue, light rain for now, but that's going to pick up. The biggest rain band extends right here through Seminole, soon to be Orange County. Rain rates here running now at about 2 to 3 inches per hour. There's Kissimmee, Point Siena for the time being. Just a little bit of some light rain shower activity. Let me show you now Futurecast here. This is a brand new update, and notice that track right here, 3 o'clock in the morning, just south of Brevard County. But look at the northern sections of the storm. Intense bands of wind and rain. This is all lifting northward. Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning, look at that eye wall. Big eye wall right there. Dangerous, catastrophic winds now pounding both